Hollywood is a world that has always sparkled, but behind the screen, not every story is glamorous. Beyond the spotlights, rivalries, grudges, and personal dislikes has shaped the lives of even the biggest stars. Now, Paul Newman, one of Hollywood's most respected actors, has opened some deep secrets, revealing the 7 actors he hated most. Who tops his list, and whose name do you think will leave you completely shocked? Join us as we dive into one of Paul Newman's most surprising Hollywood confessions. Number 7. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, regarded as a Hollywood icon, is an American actor and a movie producer. He was a co-star with Paul Newman. They both starred in the 1986 film The Color of Money. This film built the connection between the two actors, and it also finally earned Newman his long overdue Oscar.
Got a front to lay all 4,000 on you, and then I dumped. All I do is dog about 4 shots, you know?
However, despite the lasting impact and the relationship they earned from this film, Paul revealed that working with Cruise proved exhausting. During interviews with Paul, he acknowledged Cruise's intense energy and ambition all through. But this was in contrast with his own laid-back and unenthused approach. For Newman, acting was centered on 3 approaches and values: professionalism, preparation, and humility. These values, for him, were irked by Cruise's hype and overly ambitions to work. The relentless self-promotion done by Cruise during the press tour did not sit well with Newman. He has always preferred to let his work speak for itself without having to be loud about it. Newman once made a public comment about Cruise that he is a very dedicated young man with abundant energy. However, sometimes abundant energy can be abundant. This reflection highlights the dynamics that exist in their relationship. Paul just wanted to work, show up for interviews with silence, and make known moves with his film. But Cruise had other plans. He was always showering Paul with compliments.
Eddie, what are you gonna do when I kick your ass?
Pick myself up and let you kick.
And calling him a god. These compliments embarrassed him more than it should have flattered him. Paul, with his values, has stood on professionalism, but Cruise, on the other hand, was everywhere. He attended interviews, went on different tours, shared his methods to the public, and talked about his work. But despite the fact that Cruise was just doing his own thing, in his own way, it was draining Paul. To him, Cruise's hunger for attention was clashing with the way he viewed and portrayed his craft, and he did not like it. What do you think of this confession? Was it worthy enough for him to hate Cruise? How do you think the next person on this list offended Paul? Number 6. Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston, an American actor and a popular figure in Hollywood. He has gained stardom for his leading roles in numerous films. Although Newman never worked directly with Charlton Heston, this legendary star represented everything Newman disliked about Hollywood politics. They were not rivals for roles or leading on screens. But as Newman became increasingly vocal about his liberal views, Heston moved in the opposite direction. Moving beyond that, Heston became the president of the National Rifle Association, known as NRA. He was also a standard-bearer for conservative Hollywood. It was said that Paul could not reconcile the man he saw on screen with the man who gave those speeches for the NRA.
When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first.
Their political clash came to a head during the 1966 campaign season. This was when both men supported opposing candidates. Newman's enthusiasm began when he supported Eugene McCarthy during the height of the Vietnam War. As he was seen to have attended the 1968 Democratic Convention as a delegate for the candidate, Heston was also approached by the Democratic Party to run as a candidate. For Newman, this was not about career competition or ego, it was about principle. Heston drifted in an opposite direction.
The only problem is, while you're waiting for your gun, the criminals are stealing theirs.
Gradually aligning with conservative causes. His later role as president of the NRA cemented a huge division. Along the line, he changed his political alliances and would not stop using his fame as he wished. To Newman, this was not just a shift in ideology, it was a betrayal of responsibility. He had no tolerance for stars who, in his view, used their fame irresponsibly.
It's only right, Lorna.
Wait, let me. And don't hesitate to contradict me if I make it one shade.
Charlton Heston, to him, embodied how even a great screen legend could lose sight of the real-world consequences of their platform. Newman found it problematic that Heston played being good with doubtful actions to prove it. What do you think about Newman's view of Heston? What could the next person on the list possibly portray to appear on this list? Let's find out. Number 5. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, nicknamed Chairman of the Board, was an American singer and actor. Although Newman and Frank only worked together briefly on the disaster film When Time Ran Out, 1980, the experience left a lasting negative impression. This was because he downplayed one of Newman's values and potential core. Frank portrayed an act that Newman would never abide by: unprofessionalism. Their play director would often complain that Sinatra would show up really late.
Luck be a lady tonight.
He would barely look at the script, do 1 or 2 takes, and then just leave. Newman, who prepared meticulously and diligently for his roles, saw this as a disrespect to the craft. Co-star William Holden recalled a heated exchange after Sinatra arrived late, holding up production for nearly 3 hours. Newman told Sinatra his behavior was disrespectful to everyone waiting. Sinatra didn't take it well, and the two barely spoke for the rest of the shoot.
Although Sinatra declared more than once that he never had close ties with organized crime,
Sinatra did not take kindly to being scolded, especially by a fellow star. From that day onwards, their interactions towards each other were cold. They stood on professionalism at their best, but cold towards each other. Sinatra was, of course, a music legend, Rat Pack king, and cultural icon. On his music stage, he was untouchable. But on a film set, especially by the late 1970s,
as requested by Joseph Kennedy, Sinatra performed in various events to raise funds, and
he had little patience for the grind of movie making. It was said that Newman made a comment: "Some people think talent excuses behavior. I've never subscribed to that view." However, whenever he was asked directly about Sinatra, Newman would simply reply that he has a lovely singing voice. The irony, of course, was that Frank did not need the fame from acting. His music and his lifestyle already paved the way for him, which to the majority made up reasons for his actions. In the end, Sinatra represented everything Newman disliked about Hollywood. Who do you think is next on this list? Number 4. Marlon Brando. Another surprising name on this list is Marlon Brando. He was widely regarded as one of the greatest and influential actors of all time. It was known that Newman and Brando never appeared together on screen. However, they competed for many of the same roles. Early in his career, Newman was often considered the next Brando, a comparison that irritated both men. Newman's issue with Brando went beyond rivalry. Several claims were made about the striking resemblance they shared. Newman would all the time draw a definite line of dissimilarity between himself and Brando.
Here's some hot coffee for you. I guess you can use it after last night, huh? Oh, what a night.
However, this fueled up not a feeling of admiration from Newman towards Brando, but of disappointment. Brando was widely considered a genius, redefining screen acting with his raw, naturalistic performances in his film Desire 1951 and On the Waterfront 1954. For young actors then like Newman, Brando was the standard to aspire to. But as decades passed, Brando's reputation shifted. His brilliance was still there, but it came inconsistently. He grew notorious for showing up unprepared.
Yeah, I could use it.
Don't go away now. Huh?
Wasn't thinking of it.
Using cue cards hidden around sets and treated acting casually. This infuriated Newman a number of times. Paul believed you owed your best to everyone on set. If you showed up unprepared, it was not just your problem, it was everyone's headache to deal with. For Newman, Brando violated that golden rule repeatedly. Great talent comes with great responsibility. Not everyone understands that. However, the irony still remains that Newman and Brando never actually worked together, but Newman still carried resentment from a distance. Their rivalry was not over roles, but over standards. Newman revered the craft of acting like a sacred trust. Newman could not abide wasted potential. He had fought his entire career for credibility.
What's the matter? Ain't you coming in?
You can fight them fleas on your own. I'll see you later.
Well, don't get drunk.
Clawing his way from pretty boy roles into serious dramas. He had proven that he was more than whatever people thought of him to be then. Seeing Brando squander his immense talent felt like an insult, not just to himself, but to the entire profession. Brando, in Newman's view, treated it like a casual game, and for Newman, that was worse than arrogance or politics. It was betrayal coupled with unprofessionalism. The next person on this list might be who you did not expect. Can you guess who it is? Number 3. Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, the king of cool, was often mentioned alongside Newman as a defining star in the 1960s and 1970s. He was an American actor who became the world's highest-paid movie star in 1974. His only collaboration with Newman, The Towering Inferno, 1974, confirmed Newman's misgivings. From the beginning, McQueen approached the film as a battle for dominance.
Got to move all these people out of here.
Oh, now, just how bad is it?
It's a fire, mister, and all fires are bad.
He demanded absolute parity with Newman, same pay, same number of lines. He argued to equally climb the same number of stairs with Newman during the film's fiery action. He insisted his name appear no lower than Newman's in the credits, resulting in the unusual billing arrangement. Paul just wanted to do the work. The contrast was a lot of burden for him to bear. However, the experience confirmed what he already suspected about McQueen. He had suspected he was not interested in collaboration. McQueen just wanted to shine in a competition between them. Surprisingly, The Towering Inferno ended up becoming a huge success, making $203 million worldwide.
No, we were lucky tonight. Body count's less than 200. You know, one of these days...
The movie earned $116 million in North America and $87 million internationally, which led to one of the biggest box office successes of the 1970s. Could we say the feud between these two fueled the financial aspect of this film? Faye Dunaway, who worked with both men, said that Paul approached acting as a craft to be perfected, but Steve approached it as a battlefield to be conquered. They were oil and water from the start. It was a reflection of a fact that some actors care about winning more than the excellence they deploy in their roles. The second person on this list will shock you the most. Who do you think it is? How and why do you think the person appeared on this list? Number 2, John Wayne. Now on this list comes the most iconic Hollywood figure, the second person on the list, which is the biggest shock of all. John Wayne, the embodiment of American masculinity, was an American actor nicknamed Duke. He was Newman's polar opposite in both politics and acting style.
Les gens de mon âge, en général, ils m'appellent GW, ou alors McClinton.
Newman, a liberal Democrat, stood in direct opposition to Wayne's conservative views, especially during the Vietnam War. The main reason why this might come as a big shock is because on the screen and to a large number of people, these two shared a close relationship. However, behind the scenes, there were issues booming. Paul considered Wayne's Green Berets film a military propaganda. He thought it was irresponsible to glorify a war that was killing so many young Americans. Wayne, on the other hand, was calling anti-war activists like Paul unpatriotic. They were totally in contrast with each other's upheld values and beliefs. Their feuds were done more in words than their actions could. Newman also criticized Wayne's limited range as an actor. He said that he admired his success, but John Wayne plays John Wayne in every movie. He claimed that Wayne does not try to spice up the scenes and characters in his movies, unlike Newman, who has always tried to play different characters in each role. When Wayne won the Oscar for True Grit in 1970, Newman, despite multiple efforts,
Va se faire un tour à la maison, un de ces quatre. Je te mettrai une déculottée au poker. C'est toi qui le dis, GW.
And several nominations, went home empty-handed. Friends said Newman was gracious publicly, but privately. He was frustrated. After Wayne's death, Newman softened his stance. He stated that they disagreed on practically everything, but one cannot deny he was an American institution. For Newman, John Wayne was not just a rival actor. He was the symbol of an ideology he spent his life fighting against. What do you think of the rivalry between these two? Now, to the first person on this list. Who tops the list? Number 1, Robert Redford. The number 1 person on this list, which is another shock to people, is Robert Redford. He was Newman's longtime friend and collaborator in Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid. Together, they created magic that everyone loved. And their other film, The Sting, remained one of the greatest buddy films in Hollywood. The major issue between these two friends was Redford's notorious tardiness and casual scheduling.
Woodcock. The Woodcock, you all right? Hey.
Despite being his closest collaborator and friend, his actions behind the scene were Newman's number 1 source of professional irritation. Redford's chronic lateness drove him to distraction. Director George Roy Hill, who helmed both films, remembered Paul was military in his punctuality. He would be on set before dawn, fully prepared. Then they would all wait, sometimes for hours, for Bob to show up. It drove Paul nuts. Crew members even gifted Newman a gag clock on the Sting set. Every number on its face was replaced with the word Redford. Sidney Pollack, who worked with Redford repeatedly, once admitted, "Bob has a different relationship with time."
He can't arrest you here. It's a foreign country. He can't take you back either.
He's not going to take anybody back. He wants to...
He doesn't mean disrespect, but he just doesn't live on the same clock as the rest of us. That might have been fine for others, but for Newman, who has maintained discipline, punctuality, and meticulousness, it was maddening. The irony was that Redford's performances never suffered. He could arrive hours late, step in front of the camera, and nail a scene in one take. Newman once grumbled to Hill, "The worst thing about this kid is he can show up 3 hours late and still be better in one take than most actors after a week of rehearsal." It's infuriating. Despite the frustration, Newman never let it affect their professional collaboration.
I got nervous. I forgot the word. Shoot me.
You've had worse ideas lately.
Raise your hands.
In fact, their differences may have been part of what made their on-screen chemistry so electric. Redford himself later acknowledged this in an old interview. Newman also summed up their relationship at an AFI tribute. "Working with Robert Redford taught me patience. I had none before. I needed all of it with him." Paul Newman's list, however, was not about grudges. It was about principles, boundaries, and aspirations towards the life he was building for himself. He valued preparation, professionalism, and humility. And when others failed to live up to those standards, he noticed. Which of the names on this list shocked you the most? Do you think Paul Newman's reasons were good enough to hate on these people? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.